Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Season 2 Invitational in Roanoke, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. Nick Miller alongside Team Mass Drop. Jarvis, you, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
You had a rough start to the tournament, but you battled back.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is on the back of your Modern deck.
Right.
You made day two at 5-3, bunch of wins with Modern. And you're playing the Counters Company deck. And I've deck tech people on Counters Company before, basically since the printing of the Vizier of Remedies.
Yes.
But the deck has changed a lot. And while the idea has been the same, the inner workings and the pieces have all changed a lot. And that's why I bring you in today, because you have a pretty interesting build that molds almost the old Abzan Company decks with the new, and you have other pieces in here as well.
Right.
So what brought you to this list? Because you have the Devoted Druid Vizier combo, and you also have the Kitchen Finks combo in the deck as well, like the old builds did.
Right. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I'm not the original innovator of this specific list. Last weekend at the Team Open, there were 3 classics on Sunday, and Kazu Negri won the Modern Classic with basically this shell of the deck. So I give credit to him, and honestly, the deck it feels fantastic. Kitchen Finks is just great versus beatdown decks. Scholar gives you disruption versus control decks and combo decks alike.
So the big draw here, as you said, is the Kitchen Finks, which a lot of the decks, I think, that were looking for speed did away with. Right. They were just trying to get as many of the copies of the combo as possible so that they can get their infinite mana, Devoted Druid up their Ballista, and win the game like that. A lot of the builds have been diverging, using things like Ronus as an alt win con. You have that in here as well. What is your preferred, way to winning, and what version what way are you winning more games, would you say?
I would say I'm probably winning slightly more games with Walking Ballista because it doesn't involve the combat step. Honestly, once you have infinite mana and you have Duskwatch activations, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can do either. Notably, if you company into Ronus and Vizier, you can kill your opponent that turn. But if you company into Vizier and Ballista, that doesn't work as well. Right,
the Ballista's going to go to the graveyard if you chose to use it. Which you said you have won games while companying into Ballista before because you get Eternal Witness as well.
Yes, once you have your arbitrarily large amounts of mana and you company into a Witness and a Ballista, you just put the Ballista into play, it's dead due to having 0 toughness, and you can Witness back the Ballista and just kill them that turn.
Okay, so going over the deck, is pretty simple. You have your mana creatures between Noble Hierarch, Birds of Paradise, and the Devoted Druid. Then you have your combo pieces, the Vizier, your Kitchen Finks, Viscera, which allows you the sacrifice outlet, and then you have your offshoot. So you have the Duskwatch Recruiter, which I think is something, the ability on that card is relevant in a lot of games of Magic, where you just actually get to use the ability.
I would say versus a deck like Jeskai or Blue-White and you resolve a Recruiter, after they've pathed to you a few times, it's just so much more powerful than it would seem. Obviously, it's a slow card, and it also secretly is a combo piece, because once you have Druid plus Vizier, and you want to make sure to be able to kill them even through removal, if you get the Recruiter, you can just go through your entire deck to get the Ballista.
Right. And we have Ronus and Ballista as your win cons, Ewit, which gives you your redundancy. And then the other big piece, here, is you have 4 Tidehollow Scholars, a card that a lot of the lists that were focused on just doing one thing were not doing. Yeah,
when I played Abzan Company before without this part, I actually started 1 Scholar and had 3 in the sideboard. And once I saw Kazu playing 4 in the main deck, it just made so much sense to me, why he's doing that. It's good versus Jeskai, it's good versus degenerate decks, which are typically both very difficult matchups.
Okay, so when you were picking a Modern deck for this tournament, what did you have in mind, and did you lock into this immediately, and what were you shooting for in terms of matchups and things like that?
Honestly, I've been running the gauntlet of just trying every single Modern deck that I've seen, sometimes to better or worse success on my Twitch stream. I played Lantern a bunch to 2 and 3 finishes. I'm just okay, maybe I'm not good enough to play this deck, or there's something I don't understand. But really, once I saw the classic results with Kazu playing this deck, I'm just I played this deck in a Pro Tour and a Grand Prix, and I love this style of deck, so, I wanted to come back to it.
Okay, so where does this deck fall? Because right now, a lot of people are seeing the metagame as, Storm, Shadow, and Jeskai are kind of the top decks along with, you know, Affinity and Humans and stuff like that.
Right.
Where does this deck slot in, you know?
Well, if you just told me the metagame was only going to be Storm, Jeskai, and what was the third
Shadow.
deck? Shadow. I would not pick this deck, but it is modern. The field's usually wide open. Even if those are the top 3 decks like you described, I would never say they're like more than 7% of the field. So you still have a wide swath of the field that I feel is soft to a mid-range creature combo deck like this.
Okay. And in the, you know, it's also important to note that this deck can goldfish in these, as you call it, degenerate mirrors,
yes.
basically. The combo decks that are just trying to race you dead.
Right.
This deck still does that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can kill on turn 3. I killed a bunch of people on turn 3, including a Dredge opponent today. I mean, if Druid untaps and you have Vizier, and you have Company or Chord, if you have Chord, it's a deterministic win. If you have Company, you're likely to win, but you know, it's not guaranteed.
Right. What would, as a professional risk analyst or variance analyst, what would you say your chances of winning with Collected Company are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't run the numbers. I would say it's relatively high. Probably, I would guess around a third. Like that's just a number I'm making up. Also, if you hit Witness, that's just a rebuy. So the math gets complicated very quickly.
All right, I will trust you. All right, so we'll move on to the sideboard now, where you have, as expected, a bunch of creatures in this deck. We'll hit the spells first because there's only a couple of those. You got your removal spells of choice: Path, Abrupt Decay, Maelstrom Pulse. These are just shooting for the problem, some creatures and permanents, I imagine.
Yeah, a card that's typically very good versus this deck and has always been good is Grafdigger's Cage, because the warding on Collected Company and Court of Calling puts the creatures in from your library, and Cage shuts off that ability. So I like having 2 answers to Cage. You know, that's also why I have Qasali Pride Mage to some degree. But Path to Exile, the efficiency on this card, it can't be beat. You know, 1 mana, kill your Death Shadow, hope you're out of basics.
Yep. Then you have Gideon and Liliana Last Hope here hanging out as your, just look like your mid-range, we're here to grind cards.
Yeah, I haven't actually played with this card, but my testing of other decks with Liliana would lead me to believe that it's good in a deck like this. You have so many creatures that you can bring back that are pretty good, and it's extremely good with Eternal Witness, because if they kill the Liliana and you've gotten a Witness back, you can just Witness back to Liliana, just keep going.
Just going off.
A very slow going off, as it were, but yes. And Gideon, Gideon just hits really hard. Like, it's a different angle. Like, if you land this versus a Jeskai or blue-white deck and they don't have Detention Seer or something similar right away, I just imagine it will just kill them very quickly.
Yeah, that looks very appealing in the sideboard games, because I played a handful of tournaments with this deck before, and you really need a way to combat Cage, as you mentioned with the spells, because your deck stops doing a lot of what it does when that card's in play, so having something like Gideon seems very strong in that regard. Now, we have 2 Distended Mindbenders here. This is a card that you said Shota played?
Yes.
Back when at the Modern Pro Tour?
I think it was Players Championship or World's Championship, whatever the exact name of that tournament is, this 16 or 24-man one. He had 2 of these and 2 Gideons in the sideboard of his Abzan Company deck, and I believe this card just comes in like every slow matchup that's trying to grind you down. It's just so good with Kitchen Finks. You can just emerge at turn 4 and just get your Finks to persist anyways. So this is the dream curve. Birds, Finks, Mindbender, look at your hand, take your card that costs 3 or less, take your card that costs 4 or more, and hopefully they have nothing besides that. I cast him once today, and it was really good for Shadow. Unfortunately, I still lost the game, but if I hadn't cast it, I think the game just wouldn't have been close whatsoever.
Awesome. Then we have your bullets. These are cards that we just kind of expect to see at this point in these decks. Selfless Spirit, Pride Mage, Kataki. We got an Orzhov Pontiff, another Eidolon of Rhetoric, Sin Collector, and Burrington Forge Tender. Anything different or anything that you think you should have more of, less of, or are these all just proven slots?
These are proven slots. The card that I would consider the most, the 2 cards I would consider the most that are not here, my compatriots Steve Nagy and Kazu, they suggested Tireless Tracker and Corsair Crucifix. I'm not actually a huge fan of Tracker. There's only actually 22 actual lands in the deck, so Tracker by itself is not great. Corsair, I think, is fine, just because just being able to see what's going to happen within the next few turns is also valuable, and the life gain is valuable, and with fetch lands you can sort of control the ability of what you're drawing.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that from Todd Stevens this year,
yeah,
the ability to just manipulate your draw steps, very important in this format. All right, well the deck looks great, the sideboard looks good. I think you're pretty well positioned for tomorrow. You've got a lot of standard and modern still to play. So how you feel going into day 2 after the rough start? You got to be somewhat happy.
Yeah, I mean, tournaments are weird. I started 0-2, then ran off 5 in a row, then lost my last round, but I'm still kind of bummed because the way the human psychology works is your last match is the one your brain remembers the most. So I'm feeling a little bit bummed, but whatever. I'm gonna take it easy, go to sleep early, and be back tomorrow to fight.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck. Jarvis, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Roanoke.